This is Algebra 2, Lesson 6, and this is kind of what I did in class, but some of you were wanting to kind of hear it again. What do you do with these fractional exponents? And let me just say here, remember, you can multiply these exponents together. So you could write this as, if all you wanted to do is write it as one single fractional exponent, you could write this as 16 to the 3/2. Okay, that's the same difference. And this is one thing I want you to remember too. This right here means the square root of 16. Sorry. So if that's a little 2 right there, it's because there's a little 2 right there. We don't typically write it. I'm trying to take this video myself, so it's kind of tricky. But it's the square root of 16. And what is the square root of 16? It's 4. So you have 4. This is 4 cubed. That's what it's saying. And 4 cubed, that means 4 times 4 times 4. Hit it in your calculator, but that should be 64. Okay, so you can practice doing that in your calculator, but you should know what that means. Okay, so look at number 2. Again, when you have an exponent raised to an exponent like you do right here, you can multiply these two together. So, think about it. That's the same thing. Be able to take 3/4 times 8/3. And I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to do that right here. What does that mean, 3/4 times 8/3? Because that's part of the problem. Is you guys don't know how to multiply fractions. I would probably simplify. These 3's will simplify right there. And 4 will go into 8 twice. So notice I get 2 over 1, which is 2. That was just working with my exponents right there. So this is actually x squared. Okay, so you're just simplifying that right there. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3 says 2 to the 6th to the 1/3. Okay, multiply these exponents together. That's 6 times 1/3. Look, 3 goes into 6 twice. So it's really 2 squared, which is 4. So you could do it that way. That's probably the easiest way to do it right there. Okay, look at number 4. I like 4 because it's going to make you think a little bit. Anytime, I'm not talking negative exponents, but anytime you have a negative number, you need to be really careful. So that's squared. And then all of that is to the 3/4. And honestly, if you see a negative number, take care of it first. Like, for example, what is -4 squared? Because it's not going to necessarily come out right if you don't. -4 squared is a positive 16. So I personally think you need to go ahead and do this. It's 16, and then it's to the 3/4. Okay, so what does that mean? You can do this any way you want. There's 2 steps here. This is what this means. Sorry, I'm moving my paper here, trying to get all situated. I'm going to make y'all dizzy looking at this. Okay, you can either take 16 to the 3rd power, which means 16 times 16 times 16, and then take the 4th root. But that's a huge number, and I wouldn't be able to do that mentally, personally, without using my calculator. So probably, if I was going to figure this out without a calculator, and that's your goal, is I would want you to break it down small. You take the 4th root first, okay, and then cube it. What does that mean, the 4th root? You would write it like this. What is the 4th root of 16? Well, it is 2, because you're going to do it like this. Okay, I want you to look at this. This right here, 16 to the 3/4, means exactly this. If you've got a number in the bottom, it's talking about you taking the 4th root. The 4th root of 16 is 2. Why? Because 2 to the 4th is 16. So this is 2. And 2 to the 3rd, if we want another step right here, is 8. So that's your final answer. Now you could hit all that in your calculator at one time, and you might want to do that just to make sure you're right to test yourself, but I want to see this step. I want to see a little bit of work in here that I can see that you're thinking through this. I do not want you to go from here to here. I want you to show some steps. Okay, so I know that you know what you're doing. Okay, I'm going to do number 7. I see number 7 is a little tricky. Looks like that. This is not a negative number. It's a negative exponent. Do you remember how to get rid of negative exponents? Do you remember you flip it? So it would be 2 over 1, and then it becomes a positive exponent. So that's how you get rid of negative exponents. Obviously, 2 over 1 is just 2. So you have 2 to the 3rd, which is 8, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Okay, now I'm looking again at these others. I'm seeing if I see one. How about if we do number 10, 27 to the 2/3 squared. Okay, there's several ways to do this. First of all, you have an exponent raised to an exponent. So if you want, you could go ahead and multiply those in together. So you could say that's 27, and it looks like a negative sign, but it's not supposed to be. I'm having a hard time taping this by myself, but it's going to be 27 to the 4/3. Okay, that would be a way to write it with just a fractional exponent. But what does that exactly mean? Now, I always try to make my numbers smaller. So remember this 3 on the bottom? Since it's in a fraction, it's wanting you to take the cube root of 27. So this is what it's saying. It wants you to take the cube root of 27 and then take it to the 4th power. You could go in the other order. You could do 27 to the 4th and then take the cube root. But again, that's a huge number. Way more than I can deal with in my head. What is the cube root of 27? It's saying what number, when you multiply it times itself 3 times, gives you 27. And we did a little chart in class, but this should be 3. Why? Because 3 to the 3rd is 27. So if this is 3, I'm going to get 3 to the 4th. So I'm going to write that right below here. 3 to the 4th. And 3 to the 4th, I believe, is 81. See, I can do that one in my head because I know 3 times 3 is 9. And then I did 9 times 9, I got 81. Okay, but you can do that 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. You can get 81 in your head. Again, you can test this in your calculator. You should be able to hit in your calculator 27 to the 4/3 and see if you really do get 81. But let me say it again. Give me some steps. I want to see some work. And by the way, you could have even done this over here. You could have taken the cube root of 27, which is 3. 3 squared is 9. So you would have gotten a 9 in here. And then 9 squared, 9 times 9, either way, you get 81. So it doesn't really matter what order you go in on these problems, okay? I'm trying to see if there's any more. I'm going to flip this paper over real quick. And let's do number, let's look at 18. And I'm still on 6A. And some of these, like I said, I did it in class. But it looks like that. Okay, and it says rewrite using fractional exponents and then simplify. Well, honestly, go ahead and write it as a fractional exponent because it's good practice, but I think it's easier it is for me to go ahead and simplify it now. Okay, this is saying when you take it to the 4th root, what number, when you multiply it times itself 4 times, it gives you 81. Well, first of all, I just know that's 3. I know 3 to the 4th is 81. Okay, and one thing, remember in class when we did this, and then I had these all written down and we worked on them together, and we know 3 cubed is 27, we know 3 to the 4th is 81, okay, 3 to the 4th is 81, that's why I know the 4th root of 81 is 3, so this is the square root of 3. Alright, if you were going to write that as a fraction, that's the same thing as 3 to the 1/2. Okay, I like that answer the best. It's the most simplified. If you do this the way they want you to do it, they want you to write it as a fractional exponent first. Well, that would be 81 to the 1/4. I'm pretty sure we did this one in class. There's 81 to the 1/4. And then that is going to be the square root. If you don't see it, there's a little 2 right here. Okay, that means that's all then to the 1/2. So you could again take 81 to the 1/4, which is 3. So you're going to get 3 to the 1/2. You could write this, I guess, as 81 to the 1/8, but I don't consider that all the way simplified. Obviously, that one's a lot bigger of a number than this. Okay. So hopefully that will give you enough to get started. I could do one more if you want. Let's look at number 20, and I'm using scrap paper so you're going to see this real quick. But this is the cube root of 8 to the 5th power. Well, what is the cube root of 8? That's 2. So I have 2 to the 5th. This is 2. Let me write it over here. That's 2 to the 5th, which is 32. If you were going to write it with fractional exponents, okay, this is the answer. But if you were going to write it with fractional exponents so you can get rid of this radical sign, Remember, you could write it as 8, and I'm going to write it up here just to squish it in. And since you're taking it to the cube root, the 3 is going to go in the denominator, so it's going to be to the 5/3. That would be what this answer looks like with fractional exponents. But this is your final answer, is 32. Hopefully that helps you just a little bit.